Hey everybody, sorry I'm late. We were experiencing some technical difficulties in the background. John had to hop off so that he could fix a problem that we were having. So I figured I would get started, and he will be joining us for a minute. So today is a very interesting day because not only do you guys get the chance to ask John a bunch of questions, but something that you guys have been waiting for is now ready, and that is the edited video from Portland. So John and I are going to talk about that. John, especially because he has seen more of that video than anybody. He's probably watched it a million times, frame by frame. So when he jumps back in here, we'll be able to talk to him about that. And I'm really excited to get that back up because, well, I think it's important. I think it's important people see another perspective. Like always, it's something we often talk about is looking at other people's perspective and understanding. Hello, Steve. Hello, Kevin. Hi, Billy. Ashley. Hey, everybody. Hi, everyone. So that's what we're going to talk about once John jumps back in here, and then we will also do the Q&A. So I'm pulling up the questions on my phone right now from that post that was made so that I can get some of those as well. I don't want to miss those ones since you guys took the time to write them. Okay, so that was a trip. I just saw myself on Facebook Live. That's really weird. So where was that post? That's right here. So, oh, actually, it's really easy. You guys didn't write any questions down, so I guess we're just going to go off the ones we see on the live. So I'm going to pull that up so maybe I see other ones, stop them on my phone. So yeah, how's your guys' days been going? What have you guys been up to? Lewis, what's scary? Yes, seeing myself is scary. That's weird. It's really weird to be looking at myself in this camera right now. And I hope John hurries up because it is kind of weird to be up here like this by myself without being on my porch. So, but yeah, what's going on in the world today? Oh, wait, look who's here. John Lee, welcome to the show.
How's the technical difficulties? Do we have that audio feedback loop?
Much, much better.
All right.
I still kind of hear it. Hey, guys, in the comments, let us know if you hear any echo, please. So I let them know that we have the video done, and I let them know that you were going to talk about your perception of the video, considering you've seen it more than anybody.
I think I have watched that thing 100 times at least. Sometimes in 15-minute increments in the same spots over and over. The one thing I think needs to be acknowledged above all else was how cool it was that you did that damn video for us in the first place. Because after studied analysis of your eyes through that mask, I could definitely tell you were out of your comfort zone a bit, Pat. I could definitely tell that that's not your normal crowd. So I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Above all else, I think that we really need to, when we watch that video, acknowledge the different things that she's saying that kind of confirm some of the stuff that we've talked about on the page, as far as there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of cohesion. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of unification in that in the group that is supporting BLM. So I know going into it, I really assumed that there was basically one group that has a very strict organization. They have very clear leaders. You know, they're sending the plans out. They're rallying the events and stuff. And listening to your conversation with Lipstick, I realized how semi-organic a lot of it is. Like, I don't even think a lot of these people have ever listened to the founders of BLM or listened to the actual original people that came out and made the website, you know, and made the organization, because their story is so different. And their structure is so different, and their idea of what's going on is so different. And so I think one of the reasons this has been so powerful as a movement in the United States is that it is a bit chaotic. It's a bit intangible as like a specific goal. You know, they have this general concept that police brutality is obviously an issue. Several people call for defunding, right? But as we've all seen, nobody seems to know what the hell that means. They don't know if it means complete defunding. It doesn't mean just the militarized stuff. It doesn't, you know, there's so many definitions out there for what these different things are that I don't even think they agree on the terms. Like, I think if you rounded up 7 protesters and asked them about the situation, you get 7 different answers. And if we don't start looking at it a little bit more like that, more as an ideology that carries its own momentum, so to speak, among people, we will never be able to, one, come to terms with that as a society, and we will never be able to de-escalate this because there are so many individualized factions and sub-factions and organizations and sub-organizations. And, you know, we're seeing the corporate sector kind of struggle to keep on the edge of that too. Like, some of them are just like all in Black Lives Matter and their commercials and everything else. They're with the protesters, you know, and I think the reason why is because they also have no clear idea what the clear directions and the clear ideas. So what we saw with Lipstick was a little different. Like, Lipstick, she had a specific list, right? She had specific things that those Portland protesters wanted to see changed, you know, and you can argue all day whether or not there's any validity to that. You know, obviously I don't go out and protest. So, but at the same time, trying to look at it from a more neutral perspective, trying to see, okay, well, what is the founding truth here? What is the founding basis of this movement?
Sure.
And, you know, with that specific protest, we had some good organization as far as these peaceful protesters wanted this, and this. But where does that end? Where is the line between that peaceful protest and the people who want something completely different? Well, it's a very faded line, and there's a lot of intermingling there. So there's no real clear stance against each faction either. Basically, it's kind of a thing where either you hang around and you're complicit in one type of behavior, but not complicit in another, or you embrace it all, or you only embrace the parts that speak to you personally about the belief. So that leads me to believe that whatever the original organizers intended for the BLM movement, that's not what we're seeing. So whether they were, you know, had nefarious ideas, or whether they had progressive ideas, or however you want to categorize that, we can no longer equivocate all of these people as one blanket force. It's not one single front. It's not one single divisionable line. We've seen people on our own page, right, who have said, hey, I support the protests, but I don't support riots. I don't support criminal behavior. So right there, we show that even in our own neighbors, friends, and family, they don't have one clear directive or one clear specific focus. I think this is where a lot of the extremism has been bred, to be honest. What do you think, buddy?
Well, I think it's interesting because it's culpable, right? Like the ooh, that echoes bad when I talk, isn't it? Do you hear it?
It's you. I have no echo.
Now I just muted John. Let's see if there's an echo. Nope, no echo when I mute you. So we're going to just play the muting game. So I think it's culpable. I think it's, you know, there are the peaceful protesters that are there for truly peaceful purposes. But I actually think that's a very small number based on what I saw. The rest of the protesters there that aren't violent are definitely culpable in the violence because they're cheering it on, they're egging it on, and they're not doing anything to stop it. In fact, one of the things that shocked me the most was watching how you're not allowed to interfere with however somebody else wants to protest. So that's an interesting rule inside there. So like it's fine as long as you don't, go against what anybody else is doing. So it makes it to where it has to be culpable. You either are all in and a part of the same group because they have these rules in amongst themselves. And so I found that to be really, really interesting. I don't know what Gypsy's talking about, but go ahead, John.
Well, I mean, I do agree with you to a certain extent. Like on a local basis, if you're in an area and every night your protests at some point have degenerated into chaos or degenerated into I can't see any of the comments.
I know it's hard. I'll tell you what's going on.
Your phone sucks. It's called an echo.
So you can hear it too?
I can hear it.
Oh. Is everybody hearing that echo too? Must be.
Does anybody hear an echo when I mute John? So, John, so first of all, Gypsy, thank you. And thanks for trolling. Appreciate it. Love you too. Gypsy's got a question for John. And that question is, what does loudmouth mean?
Essentially, the First Amendment is my favorite amendment. It is something that I believe is divinely gifted us by the United States of America and its founding. And because too often we live in these really weird echo chambers, and we don't even mean to do it. We just naturally gravitate towards people who have the same concepts, the same ideas, the same stances. Because, I mean, who wants conflict between their personal relationships anyway? So it's natural for us to do that. But I feel I have listened to so many people debate my position. And after a while, I started opening my mind to that. And I started really listening to what they had to say. And I feel like I've learned far better ideologies that are more broad sweeping and more American encompassing. And since you asked me a very simple question and I started ranting about America, that makes me the loudmouth. My main point is this: speak up. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the 10th man rule, but it's a wonderful, wonderful rule. And essentially what it means is if there are 10 people in a room and 9 of them agree on something 100%, it is your obligation as the 10th man to refute that point and not accept that answer and see if it has any verity. See if it has any validity. So I feel like that's my personal responsibility in life, because more often than not, we're saying the same exact things. We want the same exact things. You know, when you look at the protesters, the very few small percentage that we see that are doing things perfectly the right way, it's not criminal behavior, it's not violent, they have very specific ideas and concepts and everything. They're fighting for safety. Why do we protect the police? Because we fight for safety. So when you start looking at it into these base human emotions, you start seeing a completely different side of politics. And that side of politics, in my opinion, is the true silent majority. It's the idea that all of these ideologies can coexist. They can have a balance with checks and balances. They can be operated because America was literally created to handle that process. Everything in our system has checks and balances, and it has all of these different things, so that it doesn't matter if we have, a new age Napoleon that gets on the stage. He still has to win the votes. He still has to go through the electoral process. He still has to pass his bills. He still has to go through all of the same things that anybody. And by doing that, we fundamentally make these ideologies operate successfully in the United States. And we don't see that in a lot of different places. So that's why I think it's important for every American to speak often and loudly against the crowd, constantly reminding them what is important, which is us, Americans. Nobody wants to be dominated by the government, whether that's a socialist government or a capitalist government or a full-on satanic crazy government. Nobody wants their government dominating us. All of us Americans can raise our hands and be like, hey, I like being in the land of the free. I was told this is the land of the free. I'm going to continue to be here. And I think it's important that people acknowledge that our Constitution was literally written in a way that we can shoot Congress if they go against those values. That's literally in the laws. We have the things called Second Amendment and the First Amendment and the Third Amendment. These things are to protect us from the government. These things are to ensure that we don't take our eyes off the American people and we don't focus on the politics. That's like in the founding of it. And so I speak loud and often about that. I'm a bit of a...
Hey, how's the echo? Still hear it. So Carrie asked an interesting question. She wants to know if I think she's asking me, she says, do you find it hard to keep your views and opinions to yourself when dealing with difficult people in a group, with difficult people in the group who post hatefulness? No, I don't. Simply because, like I've said since the very, very beginning, this isn't about my views. This is about gaining understanding from other people. So as long as I'm engaging in a conversation in that way, it isn't about my views. So why should I feel the need to defend them when I'm not here to defend my views? I'm not here to argue that I'm right or you're wrong. I'm just simply here to have a conversation and try to understand the people that see it differently than I do. I'm not here to change anybody's mind, guys. Like, I'm not here to make some grand move where you guys are all going to come to see everything the way I see it. Besides, I think that would be really, really a boring place if we all agreed with each other. But no, so for me, it's not difficult. It was difficult in Portland, however, to listen to Lipstick talk. There were some things that she said that I really don't agree with at all. So that was an interesting thing for me because I needed, but I just kept remembering why I was there. You guys, like, the whole purpose was to give a protester a voice so that those of us that are watching this on TV, not understanding why were doing it, could maybe gain understanding of that. So, and it's hard sometimes, it is, but as long as it's not about your views, you have nothing to defend. Gypsy asked a good question too. She wanted to know what our thoughts are on trans rights. Their rights should be the same as everybody else's. We are all Americans. It's as simple as that. I don't know how else to put it. It really is a non-issue in my mind for minority groups of any, whether it be for sexual orientation, whether it be skin color, it doesn't really matter. It's not even an issue because we are all equal in America, and that's how it's supposed to be, and that's how it should be. So that's my views. John, you want to answer both those questions?
So with the hateful ideology and the hateful speech and the hateful things like that, Patrick says it a lot. And he says, kill with kindness, right? That is literally like almost the moderator's code. So just so you know, that's what we're told behind the scenes in our secret, cabals where we control everything you do on Facebook. And what we're always trying to do is approach those things with some sort of kindness, because here's what you see. They may keep up the hateful ideas. They may keep up the comments. At that point, they may be here for a completely different reason. But when you don't shy away from that shock statement, when you take it full in the face and you go, okay, well, let's analyze that and see if it has any validity. Suddenly they realize that you're listening. You're not just reacting. And when you're listening, wonderful things happen. not necessarily that this person suddenly turns into a beautiful person and all of his hateful comments were, just completely misunderstood. But more along the lines of you force them to stand by it. You say, hey, you took this dookie right here on the sidewalk, and now you're going to stand by it. You're going to defend it. You're going to explain it. And you do that 3 or 4 times with somebody who's really extreme like that or does those hatred things. They don't have much to say afterwards, and they begin to realize that their words are basically nonsense. It's basically a nonsense concept. If you can't get past the insult, if you can't stand by it, and even in your trollish way try to back this sort of hateful, it means you don't feel it's true. You know it's not true. It has absolutely no freaking basis. And more often than not, we try to leave these up. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a couple posts on there that were really bad, where people just came out, they called us racist, or they said that we had a really bad agenda or bias. And we thought it was important to preserve those things because it shows who we are, how we respond to things. It's so much more important than how we respond. It's so much more meaningful how you can take that, how you can either say, hey, look, man, I'm sorry you feel this way, that's wrong, or whether you do anything to feed into that negativity, that means a lot. So if you always err on the side of love, if you always try to come at it, even if it's not love for him, you just project your love for the world on these people. Like, there's not much to love about a hateful jackass. But at the same time, you just turn around and you go, man, that's not my experience. I love my brothers and sisters of all colors. Hey, I don't think that's very accurate. You have anything to say about that? Because all the people I know aren't like that. You err on the side of Americans for Americans. And so when somebody starts talking like that, you rip the mic away from them, you set their banner on fire, you censor them, you put them in a box, and they become powerful. Suddenly they have the shock value. They can come in and they can rock shit up, and people do something, man. They censor them, they clamp down on them, they make sure that, and in reality, that's what they're going for. That's what they want. They want to be the outlaw of the conversation. They want to be the outlaw of the comment section. And when you just look at them and go, oh, anything else with the microphone, they slowly fall apart and they stop doing that. They stop stepping up like that, or at least they move on, because it's the same way I feel about the Constitution and the First Amendment. The First Amendment is not for just the stuff we like to hear. So what do you do with the crazy assholes? You go, okay, crazy asshole. Oh, pardon my language. Okay, crazy person. You get 1 vote. Good luck. Welcome to America. No matter what crazy, hateful ideology you get 1 vote. So when it comes down to it, that's how you get rid of the bullies, man, is you go, oh, yeah, you have an equal say. Yeah, you have an equal table. And then you destroy them with love and walk away, because what are they affecting at that point? When they start seeing censorship, when they start seeing banning, when people start speaking out against them in big hordes, that just strengthens it. It's like the Romeo and Juliet complex. You tell Romeo and Juliet they can't be together, and that's all they want to do.
So if you guys were wondering why we're up till, excuse me, I got to mute him. If you're wondering why we're up till 4 o'clock in the morning talking, it's because John has really long answers to questions. And if we're going to get through any of these, John, you're going to have to shorten them up just a little bit, bro. Just a little bit. So
Loudmouth.
Right?
I warned you.
All right, so somebody wants to know, what are our views on saving the children movement that has recently been hitting social media? Yeah, we have to get more involved. We have to do something. But the biggest issue I see right now is we're missing all the information. But I want to tell you guys that there are some amazing organizations out there that have been fighting this for a very, very long time. And you guys can get involved in those, support those, follow their pages. If you have money to donate to those things, if that's something you want to be involved in, there are a lot of really, really amazing places where that is exactly what they're working towards. I know Ashton Kutcher's foundation has saved roughly 6,000 victims from child sex trafficking. And he's spoken in front of Congress and some other things, so that he's made that a passion in his life, and it speaks volumes to who he is. But yeah, I 100% support it, and obviously it has to happen, right? Like what's going on. But the biggest problem is that we don't have all the information yet, and there's a lot of assumptions being thrown around out there that I don't think are beneficial to the problem. So I like to try to keep I don't like to talk about something I don't actually know, and I don't have all the information yet. So it's really hard to formulate a permanent opinion on any single aspect. But the generalized, like, we have to save the children, like we all have to realize that, number one, this is a huge problem in our country, and it's been going on under our noses for a very, very long time. So I'm really glad that it's finally getting a light shined on it, and people are finally starting to talk about it, first of all. Second, moving forward, now we know, right? So because now we know, now we're culpable, right? And so now we need to act as a society and as a people and demand change and support the organizations that are already in place to do this. So I would encourage all of you to look into those and to get more involved. I am involved with one. I have been for years. So, and yes, I've known for a very, very long time that this is a very, very real thing. So please get involved. John, your thoughts?
I couldn't agree. Make sure whatever you're doing is action, right? That's the main thing. So I have noticed that a couple of our members were pointing out that there might be a different hashtag we should use, the Save Our Children instead of Save the Children. So we should talk about that and figure that out in the comments. The main thing is this. I don't support wild speculation. I support direct criminal action, and I support direct volunteering and things like that. So I've found myself kind of torn on this issue a little bit because of that, because nobody is okay with this. I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with how widespread the Epstein thing could be. I'm not okay with how widespread all of this could be. There's a lot of known associates. There's a lot of people on lists. But Ghislaine Maxwell is the key to that for now. And everything else is teach your kids, donate your time and money to child trafficking. Anti-child trafficking organizations, obviously. There's a lot of them. There's probably ones in your area that you can help out with. Child trafficking happens in inner cities. Child trafficking happens in little towns. Like, there's so much we need to do in the way of education and action, volunteering, counseling. There's a lot to be said about making sure that, a lot of these people that come out of these horrific sexual abuse situations, they come out without parents. So, you want to get involved, look into adopting someone who has survived trauma. Look into volunteering at your local clubs and everything else, and continue to speak out. But make sure that speaking out is not all we do. We have to have action. We have to do something for them. They deserve our action. One more thing, trans rights. When the label becomes a problem and obstructing your constitutional rights, then we just remove the label. We don't remove the person. You have your rights. You are an American. If we have an issue with gender, well, maybe we should swap out gender for something else. Maybe we should just go as Americans. I don't know. But I'm telling you right now, you deserve to be happy. Trans deserve to be happy. Lesbians deserve to be happy. Homosexuals deserve to be happy. Everybody deserves to be happy in America. We've got a system that backs that up. And that system is ramified by the Constitution of the United States of America. And so if your rights are being impacted, then we need to relook at the system that impacts them. The label often becomes the problem.
So Kristen asked a question. What's a theme song for my life? Just keep going. John?
Here I am. I rocked you like a hurricane. Probably that would probably be it. Yeah, I kind of show up and throw bombs, and sometimes those bombs blow me up too. But yeah, I'm kind of like a hurricane. I can be dispersed, but it's never pretty.
Kristen also wrote in here, is it true that you two are opponents in the upcoming 2020 election? And I'm not surprised to see you ask that question, Kristen, because I knew you want this tie. I know you want this. You want this topic. You want us to do this. So there's an idea floating around in the back where John and I run against each other for president in a mock 2020 election. And we will do debates and we'll answer all the same questions that we get on or that our presidents see on a political debate. So is it true? It just might be. There's a lot of time between now and November. So we might just throw out a few debates for the fun of it.
As you can see, my opponent does what he normally does, which is completely evade the question. Listen, I am a person that is about truth. Okay, I am about straight up answers to straight up questions. If I have anything to do with it, this is going to happen. Because America, you deserve better. I defer the floor to Mr. Wickard.
All right, that's ridiculous. All right, we got a follow-up question. What plans do Breathe America have to actually get involved? I know I want to be proud and proud or are we going to plan peaceful protest? I feel like it would serve two purposes. Will we we'll definitely get our name out there and we'll be heard. Look, we are literally a month and a few days old right now. We're almost 5 weeks old. It'll happen in a couple of days. Right now we are entirely focused on building the foundation that Breathe America is going to stand on. We just launched the website the other day. Speaking of the website, guys, if you go to the website, there's a drop-down menu that has a store button. If you click on that store button, you can actually go to the store and purchase wristbands right now. There will be more products added in time, but that is up. The link is up. Everything is set up now. It was a little more time to get it done than we thought, but it's done. But as we move forward, I think there are many, many things that we could do as a group to get involved and to affect change. One of the ideas floating around the back is not just protest. Like, I kind of feel like protest has been done, but as we grow Breathe America and we get to the place where we become a very loud voice here, why don't we just simply lobby Congress and make our voices be heard to change laws, to actually make changes in this country that will be beneficial for all of us, the things that the people actually want, the things that we all want. And this is something we could decide amongst ourselves as we get big enough what those things are and what we want to go after. And we absolutely have that right to do that. So I know that's one thing we've talked about. I do think protest, and I don't want to call it protest. And the only reason I don't want to call it protest is because everybody right now is adding that negative connotation of riot. They're mixing the two terms. But I would love to see us get together and make our voices be heard in a productive and meaningful way. And if an issue comes up that we all feel strongly about, that we need to do that and we need to gather, then that's something that we will do, right? Like we can move on any situation. And I'm going to continue to go to events and things that are happening around the country if it needs to happen and we need to get a firsthand look, so we can keep shining light and keep trying to find the truth for everybody. So that's something we're going to do. So John, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Actually, just that the admin staff has really been planning a lot. Patrick's not quite saying all the stuff that we're talking about getting involved, and the main reason he's doing that is because we have so many plans and so many pots in the oven right now that it's kind of It's kind of beautiful and it's kind of daunting, and we're so young into this. Just so everybody knows, by the way, if for some reason we can't see your comments, you have to let StreamYard have permission to see your comments during the live video? No? So what I'm getting a couple people that are saying that their comments aren't getting recognized and that nobody can see their comments. So
I'll address this real quick. Okay, guys, so we are streaming to multiple different platforms right now. We're streaming to the Breathe America page, which I believe, Kevin, give me a thumbs up in the comments here if you are reading or if you're here on the page. Amber just jumped over to the page, and I know you guys were in a watch party somewhere else, right? I don't see those comments. So if you're watching on the Breathe America page, I'm going to see your comments. The group, I'm going to see your comments. If you're watching on the page, I'm probably going to see your comments. If you're watching in a watch party, I am not going to see your comments. I know Amber had a good question over there. And looks like you're just trying to re-answer, because I've got a couple things pulled up on my phone from other places. But the only thing you have to authorize StreamYard for, and they keep putting that thing up at the top, because we are streaming into a private group. If you are watching from the private group and you authorize StreamYard, they will show me your name. That is it. You don't have, but your comments still come through. It just comes through as Facebook user. So like whoever asked the question about what was the one? I don't know, we moved on, but those questions show up as Facebook user. That's it. So, and we're getting a ton of messages right now because a bunch of you guys decided to jump over. It's like Billy's here. Howdy everyone. Where are we at? Okay. Amber's on the Breathe America page, so we're seeing those. Yes, Kevin, I saw that I see that one. So where are you at, Kevin? So yeah, I see the questions from the Breathe America page, and I see the questions from the Breathe America group. I don't see them from YouTube unless I pull up YouTube, but that's a time for another place. So, all right. So Franco has a question. It says, I posted in Breathe America about anybody else thoughts the judge, and now I will. I'm only seeing part of your question. Okay. About if anybody else thought the judge, and now I will add prosecutors to have too much power. So he wants to hear from John. John, do you think that judges and he'll add prosecutors as well, have too much power? Oh, I gotta unmute you.
So thanks for that very easy question. I appreciate that. So essentially, in a way they do, in my opinion, because of precedent. So precedent is one of the most unspoken, most powerful things that we have in the judicial system. And prosecutors and judges are allowed to call upon those precedents whenever there is something that is, let's say, a questionable piece of ruling or a questionable piece of evidence or some sort of question that the legal system hasn't yet answered or weighed in on. And they seek to establish those, and they seek to use those for very broad reasons sometimes. What I love about the American judicial system, however, is that there is no archetype. So there is no, not all judges are power hungry, right? Some judges are extremely compassionate. Some judges run lenient. Some judges have bias. Some judges don't, just like people. In every position, in every situation where we have any system like the judicial system or even police or lawyers or prosecutors, there's going to be those that exercise their power incorrectly and those that don't. And we just kick it up to another set of judges, and we kick it up to another set of judges, and we kick it up to another set of judges. So somebody might be like, well, how come if we're doing that, how come we can't just create a system that doesn't rely on other judges? Well, the judges are so diverse that kicking it up through 6 courts will get you all perspectives, will get you all different ideas, and it'll give you a much better chance of having that fair end result, because now you've had 13 different types of judges from 13 different types of courts and 13 different types of legislation who have all weighed in on this, and then we get it. So we have to give them a little bit of power, because if we do not give them the flexibility, then we end up seeing a system in where like we have set penalties for everything. And the reason we have a court of law, the reason that we have juries, the reason that we have all of these systems set up is because things aren't always black and white. Things aren't always as simple as, you know, this happened. So that's where I kind of see it.
So to the guy that says John will win the presidential election, I hope he does, but I'm not going to go down without a fight. But I'm going to treat him with the utmost respect, and I'm going to shine a light on, you know, and the fun thing about that would be it would give me an opportunity to actually share a lot of my actual political beliefs rather than, you know, just playing from my position is, you know, and allowing, you know, I allow conversation to happen. I work to gain understanding. Don't think for a second that doesn't mean that I don't have opinions, though, and I don't have my own thoughts on how things should be. If you guys ever want to have a really amazing conversation, get me alone and ask me my thoughts on taxation. And I have some pretty amazing ideas. So I'm going to run on a platform of legitimate tax reform. And I'm going to tell every single one of you, you are going to love my tax idea. And John will have a really difficult time countering it because even he thinks it's beautiful. So what do you think of that, John?
You know, I have nothing but love and respect for you, brother. And I think that your tax plan is rather genius. I think that you're going to need more than a tax plan. I don't hear people in the streets calling for better taxes, friends. Half the United States is not on fire because people want better taxes. The police is not out there in full force protecting freedoms because of taxes. There's a lot of things besides taxes.
True. But I also got Kristen as my running mate, so you're going to have to overcome that too.
Administratively, I'm already lost. I'm not even going to calculate your guys' personability. No, I'm done. Great.
So Franco asked another question about, we are founded on Christian beliefs and not everybody is in line with that nowadays. Do you think that this poses a problem for our constitutional rights? Honestly, no, I don't. Whether you're a Christian or not a Christian, I think the rights make a lot of sense. I think the Constitution is very clear on the separation of church and state. And I think that allows us to move forward in a very clear path. Short and sweet, John, what do you think?
I feel the same way. I feel that even with Christianity, aside from that little bit in the Crusades, we've never been the type to hold people under sword point, you know, for our beliefs. And America definitely wasn't founded on that. So even if predominantly people were Christian at the time, and predominantly, even if we are all predominantly Christian now, we still have to respect the freedom tenets that the United States was built on, because the United States was free first, and then we became godly. And I do believe in a little bit of divine importance for America. I do believe that, you know, we had a little help, but I think that legitimately freedom is always the first tenet of America before religion or anything else.
So that's a good point. So yeah, I don't see any issues there either. Someone asked, what keeps you grounded to who you are? For me, I can't speak for John, but for me, honestly, I've been the asshole. I've been the guy, the egotistical guy. I've been the guy that was better than everybody else. I've been all of those things in different periods of time in my life. I've had a lot of success and a lot of failures. And what keeps me grounded is now in my life, now, after all the things that I've been through, after I found meditation, after I found, you know, like my real spiritual self, right? Like, my belief in God is bigger than it's ever been. My faith is better than it's ever been. And I am more grounded than I have ever been. And what keeps me here is I've tried everything else, and everything else sucked. So I'm happy, and doing this, talking to you guys, I'm happy. Like, that's what grounds me. I've worn a lot of different shoes and a lot of different hats in my life, and learned a lot of lessons along the way. And those experiences ground me. So, John, how about you?
That's beautifully put, man. That's basically how I feel too. I've tried a lot of different ideologies. I've tried to be a lot of different people in my life. I've tried to be the tough, bad boy, and I've tried to be, the anti-hero. I've tried to be all these things, and the only thing that works is a basic stance of love and tolerance. And when you find that out, you become grounded automatically. Like, you just realize, oh, okay, everybody's people. They're not their labels. They're not their thoughts. They're not their, yeah. So for me, it's like, once you realize that you're dealing with your neighbors and your friends and your loved ones, not the evil Democrats, not the evil Republicans, not the evil et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're dealing with Dave, okay, from the grocery store. You're dealing with Bob, all right? He's your work friend for like 12 years. How many people have lost their friends, their family, everything because we have been so ungrounded and not believed that we're humans, we're people. Like, we need to remember that first.
Somebody asked what parties will be representing in this mock election. First of all, we haven't agreed to do it. It's just an idea that's fun in the background. But I'm not going to represent either of those parties. I'm going to represent Patrick Wickard and the American people, and only Patrick Wickard and the American people. Look, I've told you guys before, I am a lifelong registered independent. And the reason I did that is it puts me at a disadvantage, right? Like, I don't get to participate in primaries. My voice doesn't get to be heard right up until the election day. So I am truly at a disadvantage versus the average Republican or average Democrat, right? My voice matters less. Why would I choose to do this as somebody who pays attention to politics, right? There was a great post in the group about for people that just mark the R's or mark the D's, and that's it, right? Like, no more thought. They just show up, they vote, they mark all the D's or they mark all the R's, and that's it. The reason I didn't register as a Republican or as a Democrat is because neither one of those parties has ever done anything to earn my vote for life, nor have they done anything to earn your vote for life. So regardless of if you align with their views or not, politics is an up and down road all the time. It goes left, it goes right, it goes up, it goes down, it ebbs and flows. And your views as we grow should absolutely change. Your life experience should force you to look at things differently. And if you never apply that to politics, I say, welcome to Breathe America.
We are both running under the Breathe America party, which is just America. America for Americans. We're going to run as the same party. And here's the deal. He said it right there. Nothing I've ever seen in politics is getting me lifelong loyalty. Like, I have a really hard time. A lot of people talk about lesser evils. And a lot of people talk about, well, who are you going to vote for? And I've been berated for my independent vote. I'm sure Patrick has been berated for his independent vote. It's worthless. You're wasting your voice. We are, it's either red or blue, right or left, and that's it. And I don't find that to be the case. If we're honest and we look at our politicians, what's our percentage for approval on what they do, on what they pass as policies? Is it really as high as our presidential approving? Are we weighing in on the basis of just trying to get our guy to win? Or are we really weighing in with candidates that remember that America is for the American people? It is so that we can be free from the tyranny of government. And what do we have in Washington? You can call it anything you want. You can say however you want to describe it, but we both know it's a power monopoly. It's a shared power monopoly. As long as it's one of us, Republican or Democrat, then it'll never be one of those crazy guys, right? One of the outsiders. How many people voted for Trump because you truly thought he was an outsider at the beginning? A true outsider. I mean, arguably, you could still say he's an outsider. But I mean, literally, how many people were like, dude, he's going to rock all of Washington, right and left. He's going to get these. This is what I've looked at. I won't even weigh in on the presidency because I think there's no way to weigh in one side or another with any president. It's a mixed bag. But I will say this. I've been watching the Republicans, not Trump, the Republicans in office that have had power and been in office. And I still got a couple of my favorites. And I see a lot of them just protecting the status quo. And that alarms me. The status quo is not working. Status quo hasn't worked for a while. So no parties. And if I get voted into the president, the first thing I'm going to do is abolish parties. You have to run on your name, on your stances, period. John Lee 2020.
Watch this. I can just mute him. See, just like that. Nobody can hear him anymore. It's going to be a great debate. Yeah, so somebody threw up in the comment section, time for a legitimate party, the Purple Party. I agree. I would actually encourage every single one of you to look up George Washington's farewell speech from the presidency. He spoke very, very well about why he hated turning America into a two-party system because of what it creates, right? Two-party systems, yeah, you know, two-party system is the problem, okay? So we're no longer voting for people, we're voting for a group. And it's no different than if you're a Cowboys football fan and a Raiders fan, right? All you don't care what players are on the team. You don't care what they got to do to win. All you care about is if they win. And that win, and we see this in sports, we see this all through America where people just cheer for their team, right? One place that does not belong and we need to address is in Washington, D.C. It no longer needs to be about the team. The teams need to go away. We need to fire all of them because whether you recognize this or not, you guys, Republican or Democrat, they give their speeches. They oppose each other on bills, you know, and people say, oh, you got to watch their voting records. When was the last time any of you read a bill? They are long, thousands of pages long, and they are difficult to understand. And the title of the bill literally might have 2 pages dedicated to that. The other 1,500, 2,000 pages is all the other stuff, all the rest of our money that they're going to spend in any number of ways that they want to. So you can't even look at their voting record unless you're willing to go back and read all the details of every bill that they opposed and supported. So this system is to a point now where it just doesn't function for us anymore. And the Constitution of the United States is designed to protect us, the American people. It is our government, a government by the people, for the people. So no matter what is happening in Washington, no matter what you're looking at, if you're one of those people that is stuck marking R's or D's, I beg you to reconsider. Please start looking at candidates and look at what they stand for and the things that they're saying. And then as Americans, it is also our responsibility to hold our politicians accountable for the things that they say they're going to do. And if they do not do them, we remove them in the next interval of elections, period. Like people talk all the time about term limits, and I see term limits differently than a lot of people because, you know, part of the way Congress works is based on seniority and who's been there the longest. And I've never heard anybody come up with a solution to that I actually agree with. Okay. So until that happens, I'm going to say getting rid of term limits is a bad idea because that seniority plays an important role in our country, i.e. the person who is third in line to the presidency. So we need to know how we do that. So But if we just look at term limits, right, we can limit the terms of our candidates ourselves if we simply hold them accountable for the things that they do. So I don't see it as a problem that we need to fix. It's a problem that we need to address in our voting process. Yeah, it's one of those subjects that's really, really interesting. Got anything to add to that, John?
Not really. I mean, I think term limits are needed, but at the same time, we are the term limits. And I think we really need to start taking back our power as an American people, as American voters, as people who are empowered by said Constitution to just once again check the power. So my main issue is this. Anybody who's been a career politician that has not done significant change probably doesn't need to be a career politician, right? Like, where's we want, to a certain extent, very passionate, very whirlwind, action heavy politicians. It doesn't have to be about, fundamental things like freedom and stuff. It can be somebody who's gung-ho for water purification rights. We can have the people that are gung-ho for this, gung-ho for that, and I think not too long ago we used to have that. It was before we were like, well, Republicans are the don't come for our guns party, right? And the Democrats are basically, we want to have cheap, affordable life. So, like, there's a lot more shades to both those parties, but at the same time, what do they pander on? What do they stand on over and over and over? How many times they told us, hey, we're going to fix this next election, this next one. Just vote for us. We're going to get it this next time. This next time we will. So that's where we check them. We go, no next time. No next time.
Yeah. I have listened to politics since I was 16 years old. And I'm telling you guys, I have heard all the promises from both parties, because as an independent, I find it like I think of it as my civic duty to educate myself on the candidates that are running. And early on, I would always pay attention. I mean, every 4 years, I pay attention to the presidential election. But I also paid really close attention to my local elections, which was interesting for me because I learned probably a lot more there than I ever did on a national election. But, I tell you what, the party are like this, we're going to give you this, and this is what we run on this. And how is it we only hear about certain issues at election time? How is it that every 4 years when we have a presidential election, there's all this, like, look at this year, 2020. Wow, what a year. It's really, really interesting. And John, about our presidential debates, my own nephew just commented John 2020. So it might be closer than you think. And Austin, I saw that, bro. I saw that. Don't you think I didn't see that? And I know where you live. Well, kind of. I know what state you live in. So everybody is now commenting on football teams, except for Mike. Mike is saying football's for the devil. Thank you, Bobby Boucher's mother. What do you think of college football being suspended for fall this year? Is that official? Do we know? Is that official? No college football season? Somebody comment. I don't know. If that is official, I will say this. I'm a huge college football fan. I really am. And I'm a huge pizza and wings fan. And Saturdays make a great day for pizza and wings, right? Like, let's be real, right? Like, let's be real. And I'm going to miss it a lot. But what have I always told you guys? Change is an opportunity for growth, right? So rather focus on the negative, I'm going to focus on a positive. And that positive is, if we don't have the distraction of college football and sports going into an election year, maybe Americans will take a little bit more time to look at the candidates and pay attention and realize that the teams they've been cheering for, the R's and the D's, maybe it's time to look at something different. Maybe it's time that an independent candidate shows up in a presidential election or in Congress and that actually has the support of their district or of the people. I mean, can you guys imagine what it would be like if an independent who is not beholden to the Republicans or the Democrats got in office, told them both to sit down and shut up, and this is what we're going to do? Like, honestly, because I'm going to tell you right now, I have never once even dreamed about being president of the United States. But if I were to go and try that and be elected, John has. This is John's dream. He is. Don't let him fool you. He really wants to be president. But if I were to go in there, I wouldn't give two shits about their demands. You know what? I would rule by executive order, and I would shut Congress down. I would change everything. I would rebuild everything back to the way it was supposed to be, where nobody's going to want to be a career politician because you're not going to get rich being in Congress. One of the things I hate more, like, how do you go to work 100 days a year, show up half of them, get paid $175,000 a year, and get paid that for the rest of your life, even if you only serve one term? Does anybody else think that is absolutely ridiculous? Yeah, like eyes, right? Like, I think we all do. But yet, why hasn't it changed? Because they're the ones that vote. That's why it hasn't changed. And that has to change. That has to go away, you guys, because that is the fundamental base of the fact that they look at themselves as the ruling class over us. And what they need to be doing is looking at us as the ruling class over them, period. Because this is by the people and for the people. And the Constitution, if you read it, supports all of this. This is ridiculous. Like, do you know their children never have to pay back college or federal student loans? Do you know that they get way better health care than offered through Obamacare for life? For life. They get paid their salary and all raises for life. After one term, you guys, after one term. They work for 4 years, less than 100 days a year, because they don't all show up every day. Half the time, they just have their secretary show up and say, what's the term they use, John, when they show up to vote? Or they're not there. It's not even a vote. It's something else.
I can't remember what it's called, but I call it lazy crap.
Absent. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the absentee.
I think it's an absent vote or something like that.
There's so many times where they.
Oh no, it's present.
Yeah.
They vote present on the bill. It's not a yes or a no, but that's when they're not even sitting there. That's when one of their secretaries is voting. You know, and it's, you guys. Yeah. The corruption in Washington has to stop. It is ridiculous, right? Like, nobody deserves the kind of health care that these guys get for 50 days worth of work for 4 years. I'm sorry. Every single one of those assholes knows it too. Every single one of them, Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. They all get it. Every single one of them. And then they turn around and they vote themselves these huge raises every single year. Like, are you kidding me? Like, all right, and here's something that really pissed me off recently, and I think you guys will love this. I hope all of you already know this, but I have a suspicion you don't. So, did you know we got $1,200 of us, or $1,200 of money given to us through the CARES Act, which, by the way, I would remind you, is already our money, which is interesting. Do you know how much a congressman got? Anybody know? Does anybody know how much they gave themselves? John, no idea?
I have no idea. No idea, man. How much?
$70,000. $70,000. And their salary is $175,000 a year. So they literally gave themselves a 3/4 of their salary bonus. And they're fighting over the bill. What do you think they're actually fighting about? We're all worried about, we're all in here having conversations about the $600 a week. What do you think they're fighting about? That's what I want to know. Like, I want the behind the scenes talk. What's really going on? What, I mean, they say it's because of the Republicans wanted $400 a week. The Democrats wanted to keep it at $600 a week. Well, why not just make it $5 and call it a day and give it, and help the American people out, right? And I know there's people that think that, we shouldn't be doing that, whatever. But the problem with any social program is once you start it, you started it. I mean, that's just all there is to it. What are your thoughts on that, John?
If I ever got to Washington, everybody's fired. Donald Trump thinks that his things, you're fired. I'm about to just abduct that whole phrase from him. $70,000. Let's pretend it was half that. Let's pretend it was a quarter of that. Let's say, are you comfortable with your politicians getting $15,000 in compensation while your small business gets shut down, while your supplies are hard to get, while you're not allowed to attract customers, where your curbside service is costing you money, where your children are in fear. Fired. Everybody's fired, Pat. Everybody's fired. No. And the American people, if we do not do something, we are complicit.
100% correct. And complicity is the problem. Like, we all know this. You know, if you take the time to read through the CARES Act, you can see it for yourself, right? Now, I want to ask you a next question. And we're just over an hour right now, so we're going to be wrapping this up. So if you guys have any more questions, and I want to say for everybody that knew the answer was $70,000, I'm proud of you guys. That is awesome. I mean, we're not the only people that knew, and that's amazing, right? That's amazing. So, but I totally lost my train of thought. I hate it when that happens. We get going, and then I'm just like, wait, what was I going to say? But no. So Congress, we all want to fight about the president, right? We all want to fight about the president. Who's the president? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? This person, this person. Do you guys like understand that the House and the Senate have far more authority over the president? You know, the president can veto something and the House can turn around and say, nope, we're going to do it. With just a vote. With just a vote, they can overrule a veto. Now, granted, they have to have 70% majority? But still, so if there was something that the people really wanted. So when John says they're all fired, I'm telling you guys, that's the best thing that we could do, right? We just fire them all. Just get rid of them all. Bring in new people. Bring in fresh blood. Do away with the seniority and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of seniority, somebody asked, how long do you have to be there to get seniority? Well, to give you an idea, Pelosi's been there since Kennedy. So, but because small states keep sending the same people back every year, because that's the best way to get any sort of seniority for a state like Idaho, it is in our best interest to send the same person back again and again and again and again, because that's the only way we get our voices heard, right? When you're a state like California that sends, I don't even know how many representatives they have in Congress. It's a lot. It's a lot more than the 2 Idaho has. I'll tell you that right now. So senior, it's a complicated issue. And like I said, I have yet to see a reason to go away from that yet. I am hopeful somebody will come up with one. I've thought about it many times and I don't know. Okay, we're getting a lot of questions. Okay, so let's see. But yeah, on my other point, yeah, definitely fire everybody. Kevin doesn't like that. He does not like that at all. Turned his face blood red. He had no idea. He had no idea. Sorry, Kevin. Protect your peace, brother. Protect your peace. Seriously. Don't let it upset you. It's just politics. Individuals in Congress who do not have to worry about how to pay their bills should not be deciding how much the average American gets or doesn't get. Sure. You know, they're actually there to write laws and to govern, right? That's what they're there to do. And I don't think anybody's going to agree with that. John, wipe your mouth. You're foaming a little bit. Stimulus money is socialist, honestly. They want the American people to depend on the government. That's a valid point. Absolutely a valid point. The problem with stimulus, I don't have any problem with stimulus money. I don't have any problem with bailouts. But I do have a problem with the fact that 90+% of the money that the American people give to bail out us in any situation goes to large corporations and not the people. Because again, this is a government by and for the people. Somebody has the wrong job. I have thought that so many times. Like, I just got to run for Congress once and then just walk away. And here's the thing. If I ever got to Congress, I would say all the same stuff I'm already saying, but I wouldn't get any of it done because I'm just a congressman, right? They would have me shut down, sitting in a crappy office in the back wing of nowhere where nobody would talk to me. And I would yell and scream from the top of my lungs and they would just vote against me, right? So you wouldn't be able to, you disagree, John? You think you could get stuff passed as an independent in Congress with two-party system? I gotta hear this. How are you gonna pull that off?
Let me explain to you something. let me ask. I'll even address the conservatives right now. How much of liberal legislation and liberal politics and liberal ideas come to the forefront because they're exceptionally popular with the American people? Lots. This is the deal. A one-term congressman who goes in and rants about some things and everything else, yeah, he's going to get voted down temporarily. But if that same congressman tells the American people what's going on, and that same congressman goes on national television and says, hey, I just tried to fight for you all to retain your constitutional rights, and here's how many Republicans and which ones voted against it, and here's how many Democrats and just voted against that, and just so you know, these people don't want you to have your constitutional rights. These people don't want you to have clean drinking water. These people don't want you to have these things. So I may only get that one term, but in that one term, the American people will get more honest information about the crap that goes on in Washington, D.C. than they ever have before. And that will spark change. Because when the American people light a fire under the butt of Washington, D.C. and say, hey, guess what? We now are fully aware of what you've been doing to us for the last 60 to 70 years. We get it finally. You're using us as pawns in your own power struggle. I promise you things will change. It's never happened. They always sell us on another political facade. They always sell us on another topic. They always, as soon as we get to like just right to the fundamental basis of something, we're about to change it. We're about to change it. We're about to change it. What happens? Race riots, lockdowns, horrific hurricanes, mosquitoes. That's what happens. And the reason why is because those movements are powerful, and they know if they gain traction, then they are going to be in trouble. So most people will try to hone in on that and change it to their narrative. Okay, if you have someone who's truly independent speaking for the American people will know what the narrative is. They will have no doubts.
Well, I think to assume for even a second that we are unintelligent is a mistake. We are watching. So to the federal government, like, yeah, my hat's off to you. You guys did good. We're well divided. You feel like you're winning. You feel like we're not paying attention, but we are watching you. And you know what? The whole purpose of America is for it to be by the people and for the people. And somebody said in the comments that it's not that anymore. But the Constitution still stands, my friends. It's still the supreme law of the land. So therefore, this is still a government by the people and for the people. And if we stand up, we come together. This is why Breathe America is so important, you guys. This is actually why it matters so much, because we are so divided based on our sides, based on our teams, right? Based on who we think has to win, that we can't even have conversations with each other anymore. So giving ourselves the opportunity to learn how to communicate with each other, to learn to grow with each other, to love each other, to support each other, to build each other up like we're doing in Breathe America every single day, right? Like, you guys, this is why it matters so much. Because sure, maybe we're a month old right now, right? But and maybe this election cycle, it's not going to matter so much. But in 2 years, we have another election, and our voices could be heard, right? With the growth that we're seeing, with how many people are joining, and the way these conversations are going, who knows where we're going to be in 2 years? Who knows where we're going to be in 4 years? You might actually see Patrick and John on a ticket someday running for the actual president of the United States. You never know. And if that were to happen, I guarantee you, America would wake up, and we would definitely make some problems. We'd probably end up shot. I got to be real. Probably end up dead, but it would be a hell of a ride, you guys. And you already know I'm willing to go. I'll go anywhere, right? Like, I'll go into the middle of a Black Lives Matter protest. I don't care. Like, I'll go check it out. You want me to stroll up in Washington where I know I'm going to be the most hated individual in the world because I'm going to take their money, I'm going to take their power, and I'm going to put it back where it needs to be, and that's with the American people, right?
My country, 'tis of the sweet land of liberty. I'm telling you, man, I call for Americans to go back to American fundamentals. We are a republic that is only governed by the consent of the governed. I take America, I take it and I put it into my bowl for ideology. I put it into my bowl for my idea of mentality, for how to do legislation, how to do any of this. We don't need parties. We've got America right here. It's literally the system designed to take all the craziness in our country and figure out a way everybody gets a chance to have a vote, everybody gets a chance to get at the table. And we need to take it back for our country. Even if I don't vote, if I don't run and you don't run, I mean, I'm probably going to run, but even if we don't, it's important to let them know that we have no more confidence. I'm going to tell them right now, Washington, D.C., the American people has lost all confidence in your ability to de-escalate, to find compromise, to create new legislation based on American values. You have completely betrayed the very offices that you are with your steadfast inaction, and I call you to be accountable by the United States of America. The Americans are watching you.
Well said, brother. Amy, I got to tell you, I just read your comment, and she says, they complain about Trump's loudmouth. I can only imagine. that is so true, because, oh, my goodness, I would just say it, and I would probably use, I would use my best terms and words, but like at some point it might just be obscenity after obscenity. I got to be real with you, because they bother the hell out of me. It is a frustration of mine. The more I learned, the more I've always learned throughout this whole process of getting more and more involved and paying more attention, the more corrupt I see it really is, and the more it is not for us anymore. And the people are the ones that are lost in this. Like, how is it billion-dollar companies get huge chunks of money in a bailout and the people get hardly nothing? We don't even get a month's worth of our bills paid, right? We get a gesture. That's what it was. And I'm not going to say I didn't use it, because I did. It helped a little, right? But who pays back these stimuluses, you guys? So when these corporations get these big fat checks from us, who pays that back? Because it adds to our national debt, right? It adds to our national debt. It adds to money that Americans have to pay back. And it is literally on our own backs. And that's a problem I have. John, I am not seeing, hold on, let's see, make one last look to make sure there's no more questions. Public government position, Washington State. John, I feel like I'm on a list being associated. So some people feel like they're on a list just for being associated with you. That's hilarious. Thanks, Kristen. The corporate or the corporations get tax relief as well. Yeah, that's true. They don't even pay taxes on that because all their money's offshore anyways. All right, so guys, I want to thank you. I'm going to turn the mic over to John for some closing thoughts.
Thank you for having this today. Thank you for asking us all these questions. Thank you for tuning in. You're probably on a list, yeah, but good thing I'm willing to soak up that bullseye for you. I'm willing to be the greatest congressman you ever had for 6 months until he had an accident skiing, even though he doesn't ski. I would be honored to be that person for America if it returns some of us back to American values. Just be brave, be kind. Remember, America's amazing. America's a great place. We have problems. We have a lot of problems. But I mean, a lot of the sources of those problems have nothing to do with the American dream and the American foundation. They have a lot to do with what people have done in the name of the American dream and in the name of the American foundation. So, be brave, be kind. God bless you. God bless America, and God bless everywhere else too.
Thanks, John. You guys, so we're going to do a couple more of these. I want to introduce you guys to a few more of the mods in the background where we can do Q&As and you guys can get to know them, and it gives you the opportunity to get to know me as well a little bit better. There seems to be a demand for that. So just a heads up, an announcement. Thursday, we are going to start our official, the official Breathe America podcast. I don't have a name for it yet, but we'll figure it out. That will be Thursday. I will be going over in more detail the Portland experience. So if you guys want to know my actual thoughts on what I learned in Portland, hold on. Apparently John wants to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say, we're posting that video public. We're actually going to go public right after this video. So you'll be able to check that out on YouTube.
So yeah, sorry, I was reading the text over here. I'm multitasking, you guys. I'm multitasking. Yeah, so we're gonna have it back up on the group, and we're gonna have it back up on the page, and we're gonna have it back up on the YouTube channel. You can watch it in any of the locations that you want to do. And speaking of which, please go to the YouTube channel and subscribe and like the page, please. That does help us out. We are trying to monetize that page, and that's how you do it, right? So if you haven't joined the page, the Breathe America page yet, click the banner at the bottom of the Breathe America group photo, and it'll say Buy Breathe America. Click on that and go like that page for us, please. Helps us out a lot. Please go check out our website. And again, in the store, the wristbands are available, and we will be adding more products this week. So somebody had said earlier they want a coffee mug. Well, guess what? They're coming. You can get them. We just don't have it quite finished setting up yet, but it's all coming for you guys. But honestly, I really like doing these, you guys. It's a lot of fun. Thank you for the interaction. Thank you for asking the questions. And it makes it really, really great because I like having you guys feel like you're a part of it too. So your questions literally dictate where we go with these conversations. And that's a lot of fun for me because I'll let you in on a secret. When I do morning thought videos every day, I literally ask these guys in the background, like, hey, what should I talk about today? Because I ain't got no clue. Like, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to say. Most of the time I'm standing there on my porch going, man, I got to go live in like 3 minutes. What the hell am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about? And I'm literally hitting the live button going, what am I going to talk about? So to have you guys help lead the conversation, I love that. It's awesome. It's amazing. But on the shows, we're gonna get a little bit more serious about it. And so in the mornings, I'm ad-libbing. I'm just going from the heart and letting you guys get to know me, I guess, and telling you my thoughts on being better. So that being said, as always, be better today or be better tomorrow than you were today, since it's nighttime now. I love you guys. Build yourselves up, build others up, and have an amazing, amazing night. If you want to say something, John, now's your chance. Did you mute yourself? Don't know what's happening there, guys. Love you guys. Have an amazing night.